Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in or what time you're watching this. Today we're going to be painting Marco Make's Buck T-Rex Marquette model. But I've painted enough normal Buck T-Rexes, so we're not just going to go with the normal Buck T-Rex paint job. If you haven't guessed it from all of the pictures of the Kenner Bull T-Rex that I flashed on the screen so far, that's what we're going to do this time. I'm going to start out by base coating this guy in classic caramel. And this time I'm just going to use a normal paintbrush instead of screwing around with the airbrush. There will be plenty of time for that later. So it turns out my classic caramel has a satin finish and I hate the way it looks. I probably should have read the label before I painted this whole thing in it. So using khaki, territorial beige, and golden sunset, I've mixed up my own classic caramel, or the closest I could get to it, and that has a matte finish, so I'm just going to spray that over this whole model real quick and hopefully make it a lot less shiny. So enjoy the redundant painting, and I will catch you guys in the next step. Alright, next step achieved. We're going to do some counter shading in, you guessed it, warm buff. As usual, it's going to start on the bottom of the jaw of the dinosaur and go over the throat, down the belly, and all the way to the tip of the tail. Now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and pick out some scales on this fellow's face. The Kenner Bull T-Rex has two main colors on its body. There's the brownish caramely color, and then there's kind of a blue grayish green color. Now as I pick out the scales today, I'm going to be using burnt umber for the areas that are going to remain the classic caramel color, and for the ones that are going to be underneath that bluish grayish green color, I'm going to just use black so they're going to be a little darker and show up a little bit better. Right now I'm doing the areas that are going to be underneath that green, so I'm picking those out in black. And what I'm kind of doing is just picking out the individual scales that are going to be on the face underneath where that green color is. Now because this model is a lot more detailed than the Kenner Bull T-Rex, we're going to have to take some creative liberties with how it's painted and fill in some of those details that are absent on the Kenner figure. And a lot of that is going to take the form of picking out individual scales and coloring them darker than on the rest of this Rex. And there are a lot of individual scales to pick out. Once you're done painting dots on the head, you can move on and paint dots on the armpit. And again, these are parts that are going to be underneath that greenish grayish color. Now at this point, the T-Rex just looks like he's got a lot of freckles. So you just need to keep in mind how it's going to look after there's paint over all of these dots that we're painting now. And we are painting a lot of dots right now. Once you tire of painting dots, you can put the toothpick away, grab a paintbrush, and paint the scoots on the feet with burnt umber. It doesn't look super great right now, but eventually we'll be doing a lighter dry brush over those scoots, and that'll look a little better. The thing about painting with a toothpick though is I can't stay away too long. So here I am back at it, doing a little bit of patterning on the arms with a toothpick. But I mean, come on, toothpicks are way cheaper than detail brushes. Once I've burned out my fine motor skills with a toothpick, it's time to grab a paintbrush and mark out where the big stripes are going to be on this guy. And how I do that is just taking that paintbrush and doing some splotches along the spine of this animal to show the spacing of where those stripes are going to be. Then I'll take another tool, usually a finer paintbrush, and just drag that stripe down the body, but in this case I'm using a Q-tip. or cotton swab, depending on what you like to call it. Using a cotton swab for painting is new to me, but I wanted to keep the stripes kind of splotchy at this point, and the Q-tip seemed like a splotchy tool to use. So here we go. Don't forget to paint both sides, that way you won't have a lopsided dinosaur. Q-tip wasn't splotchy enough, so we're gonna do some more splotchy with a brush. Once we're done splotching the stripes, it's time to go in with that airbrush. It is loaded with nutmeg brown, and by going over some of the patterns that we dotted out, it's going to give a little bit more depth to that caramel color. I just realized, I almost forgot to do the stripes on this guy's legs. The Kenner Bull T-Rex has some really clearly defined stripes on his shins. Time to rectify this egregious error. Of course, we're gonna fix that error with a toothpick. Alright, legs are striped. Perhaps there's hope for me yet. Okay, time to pull out that airbrush again and throw some more nutmeg brown on this guy. I'm confining most of this nutmeg brown to areas like the arms, feet, and around the lips of the animal. Areas where maybe he's got thicker skin than in other places. At least that's kind of my working theory. Once we've nutmegged the ever-loving crap out of this model, we'll load the airbrush up with some pavement, and we'll go ahead and hit the eye sockets and a few other places on the face that are going to be a little bit darker than the rest of the animal. Once we're done with the face, we'll go ahead and use this same pavement color, and we'll go over those splotchy black stripes. Because the pavement is a lighter shade than the splotchy black, it's actually going to look like another layer of skin over those splotchy stripes. It's also going to make them look a little bit less splotchy, but it's going to give it a nice layered effect, and make it look more like a real animal. While I spray pavement over the stripes, I'm actually going to go ahead and spray some pavement on a couple of the freckles here and there too. This will just help them to show up a little bit more after we finally apply the green color, which eventually we will get to, I promise. In keeping with the tradition of not having a lopsided dinosaur, we are also going to do the same thing on the right side. I'm not really sure what I'm doing here or how to describe it to you, because my camera placement sucks, although I assume I'm doing something with the head. Yep, it looks like I'm doing something with the head. What the hell am I doing? Come on, Brad, get in frame, damn it. Ah, there we go. I am spraying a color. It's a dark green, in case you're wondering. I just added a little bit of arbor green into the airbrush with that pavement. The arbor green has a real bluish tint to it, so it's a good place to start for a Kenner style Bull T-Rex. As I continue to spray this, I'm going to add a little bit more green into the mixture, and that'll kind of lighten it up. It'll also help it to be, well, more green. And now we can go ahead and do the bulk of the body. Funny thing, the power actually went out while I was painting this guy, and I caught it on camera. I did, however, edit out a few choice words that I may have uttered. So So we're just building up layers here with the airbrush, trying to go on dark enough that the freckles don't stand out like sore thumbs as much as they do, but not so dark that we're going to completely cover them up. We're trying to go for a more naturalistic look. We'll see how we do when we finish it. I may have skipped ahead a little bit here, but that's only because I care about your time, and I don't want you to waste your whole day watching my YouTube videos. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think he's starting to look Kinner Bolrexy-y. I've seen a few pictures where the Kinner Bull T-Rex looks more bluish than it does green, so I'm trying to kind of strike a balance between the blue and the green colors on it. I never did get the Kinner Bull T-Rex, so I don't have one for reference, and I haven't seen one up close since the 90s. So if you do own one, let me know in the comments how I did with color matching it. Sometimes it can be challenging to try to capture the essence of a figure that you've never actually owned. Alright, at long last it is time to do some dry brushing on those foot scoots. Anyways, a little bit of khaki is going to go over those, and it's going to lighten them all up and show off a lot more of the detail. Alright, those feet are officially dry brushed, but we're not going to stop there. There are some very large scales along the brow of this figure that I think are going to look amazing with a light dry brush on it. Okay, that happened quickly. Now I'm going to spray some black on his face. Okay, I guess we are back to dry brushing. I thought I took longer with that. Now to do the hands. And we're going to follow that up with some more whitish dry brushing along the belly. I believe I used toasted marshmallow, which is much whiter than warm buff, so it'll add a little bit more depth to the scales on the belly. Alright, now it's time to spit in his mouth. I mean, paint the inside of his mouth. Yeah. And paint the jugal horns. With that done, we're going to move on to the claws. I'm using a mixture of black and burnt umber, leaning more towards the black so that we can try to capture as much of the essence of the Kinner Bull T-Rex as we can, which seems to have black claws from the pictures I found of it. But again, I have not seen one of these up close since the 90s, so on to the teeth, and we are going to paint the teeth color, which is a combination of antique parchment with some golden sunset in it, which is a much nicer name for paint than plaque. Although if there were a paint called plaque, it would probably be the paint that we would use here. Alright, now we're working on the eyes. I'm doing something a little bit different with the eyes. Before we paint the green, I'm painting the entire eye with a combination of a metallic red and black, so it's a very, very dark, shiny red. This is because the green glass eyes on the original Kinner Bull T-Rex seem to be very round, but the eyes on this model are not completely round. They are eye-shaped. And then I'll just do the round green over it, and I think I got it. I hope you all enjoy these glamour shots of the finished model. I even included some obligatory foot pics for any Quentin Tarantino fans out there. If you enjoyed this project, be sure to check out my Instagram. And if you'd like a chance to own this model or other models that I paint or modify on this channel, then be sure to check out my Etsy and eBay stores. As always, thanks for watching, sticking around to the end, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.